The rain hammered the campus quad like 1,000 tiny accusations, and I stood there, soaked to the bone, watching my twin brother Alex collapse against the library steps. His face twisted in a sob that cut deeper than any storm. "We can't go back, Jamie," he gasped, clutching a crumpled eviction notice from our off-campus dump of an apartment, the ink bleeding like our dreams. In that moment, as lightning cracked the sky over Yale's Gothic spires, I knew our shared heartbeat, the one that had carried us from a rundown trailer in rural Ohio to these Ivy League gates, was about to fracture forever. I remember the exact second our world tilted on its axis. It was freshman orientation week, 2 years earlier, when Alex and I, the inseparable Hargrove twins, first stepped onto Yale's sprawling lawns with nothing but scholarships, stubborn pride, and a beat-up duffel bag each. We were the golden boys from the Rust Belt, me with my quick laugh and knack for fixing anything mechanical, Alex with his quiet intensity and eyes that could unravel secrets from a glance. Identical in looks, sure, tousled brown hair, sharp jawlines, and that same lopsided grin Mom used to call our troublemaker trademark, but worlds apart inside. I chased the thrill of the moment. He nursed wounds that ran deeper than the Ohio River. We'd clawed our way here on academic merit and a lottery win of financial aid, but college wasn't the fairy tale we'd imagined. Bills piled up like autumn leaves. Textbooks that cost more than a month's rent back home, meal plans that mocked our empty pockets, and the gnawing fear that one bad semester could send us packing. That fear hit critical mass in our junior year right after midterms. We'd been scraping by on campus jobs. Me slinging lattes at the co-op, Alex tutoring calc to hungover undergrads. But it wasn't enough. Our landlord, a greasy-fingered slumlord named Vito, had jacked the rent on our shoebox apartment in New Haven's scrappier edges, and our part-time gigs dried up when the economy hiccuped. One night, huddled over ramen in our kitchenette that smelled like regret, Alex looked at me across the wobbly table and said, "We need a miracle, bro, or we're done." The miracle showed up the next morning in the form of Mrs. Eleanor Hayes. We'd heard whispers about her around the Yale community, the kind widow who lived in a rambling Victorian just off campus, a stone's throw from the Peabody Museum. She'd lost her husband, a tenured history prof, to cancer 5 years back, and in her grief, she turned her home into a haven. Baking pies for student events, hosting free study sessions in her sunlit parlor, even slipping 20s to kids who looked like they hadn't eaten. Legend had it she was loaded from some old family trust, but she wore her wealth like a comfortable cardigan, unassuming, warm. Alex spotted her van idling outside the humanities building, unloading crates of donated books for the library. "That's her," he murmured, nudging me. "The widow. What if we asked for work? Landscaping her yard or something. Campus adjacent, flexible hours." I laughed it off at first. Us, the Hargrove hustlers, begging at a stranger's door? But desperation has a way of sharpening edges. By noon, we were trudging up the flagstone path to her porch, the scent of cinnamon wafting from her open windows like a siren's call. The house was a beauty. Turreted and gabled, painted dove gray with shutters the color of New England fog, surrounded by a wild English garden that begged for tending. Alex knocked, his knuckles white, and when the door creaked open, there she was, Eleanor Hayes, silver hair pinned in a loose chignon, blue eyes crinkling behind wire-rimmed glasses, an apron dusted with flour tied around her waist. "Can I help you boys?" Her voice was honey over gravel, laced with that East Coast polish we'd only heard in movies. We stumbled through our pitch, 2 broke twins, Yale juniors, great with tools and heart, looking for odd jobs to keep the lights on. I watched Alex's Adam's apple bob as he spoke, his usual poise cracking just a hair. Eleanor didn't interrupt. She just tilted her head, sizing us up like rare manuscripts in the Beinecke library. Then, without a word, she stepped aside. "Come in. I've got tea brewing, and this garden's been hollering for help since spring." Just like that, we were in. She handed us gloves and a wheelbarrow that afternoon, pointing out overgrown rose bushes and a sagging trellis that needed shoring up. The work was honest, backbreaking in the humid September sun, but laced with her stories. Tales of her husband's lectures that packed Sterling Memorial, or the time she smuggled moonshine into a Prohibition-era frat party. By dusk, as we wiped sweat from our brows and loaded clippings into her compost bin. She pressed 2 crisp 50s into each of our palms. "For starters," she said with a wink, "tomorrow, same time. And bring your appetites. I'm trying a new apple crisp." Felt too easy, like the universe had finally thrown us a bone. But as we biked back to our apartment that night, the streetlights casting long shadows on Whitney Avenue, Alex was quieter than usual. "She's got a son," he said suddenly, pedaling harder. Saw his picture on the mantle. "Lives in New York, some Wall Street hotshot. Handsome devil, too." I shot him a grin over my shoulder. "Jealous? Think he'd trade stocks for weeding?" He didn't laugh. In the rear view of my mind, I see now how that was the first crack. The way his eyes lingered on that photo. A candid shot of a guy in his mid-20s, dark-haired and brooding, arms slung around Eleanor's shoulders at some family barbecue. Ethan Hayes. We wouldn't meet him for weeks, but Alex had already filed him away, like a puzzle piece he didn't know he was missing. The weeks blurred into a rhythm that stitched our fraying lives back together. Mornings, we'd roll out of bed at dawn, chug coffee black as tar, and hike to Eleanor's by 8 a.m. She'd greet us with mugs of her special blend, chamomile laced with bourbon for the chill, and a list. Prune the hydrangeas, mend the fence along the side yard, repaint the garden shed that doubled as her potting station. The pay was steady, better than campus gigs, and she threw in perks. Leftovers from her kitchen experiments, like shepherd's pie that could make a grown man weep, or second-hand coats when the New England frost bit early. Alex and I thrived on it. Our fridge stayed stocked, our rent got paid on time, and for the first time since orientation, we could breathe without the wolf at the door. Eleanor became more than an employer. She was a confidant, a surrogate mom with stories that bridged our Ohio grit to her Yale polish. She'd perch on the porch swing while we worked, knitting scarves from while she'd spun herself, dispensing wisdom like, "Heartbreak's just life's way of editing the script. Boys, cut the bad scenes, keep the ones that sing." We'd laugh, share snippets of our own chaos. Me recounting a disastrous blind date with a poli-sci major who quoted Foucault mid-kiss, Alex admitting his terror of senior thesis deadlines. He opened up to her in ways he rarely did to me, his twin shield cracking under her gentle siege. "You're both old souls and young skins," she'd say, eyes twinkling. "Yale needs more like you." But beneath the domestic bliss, something simmered in Alex. I'd catch him staring off toward the city skyline during breaks, or lingering in the parlor to help with dishes, his gaze flicking to that mantle photo. One crisp October afternoon, as we raked leaves into crimson piles, he finally cracked. "Jamie, you ever feel like you're waiting for something? Not a grade or a job, but him." I paused, rake mid-sweep, the air thick with the scent of decaying foliage. Him. It hung between us, unspoken but electric. Growing up in our conservative corner of Ohio, where Dad's mill buddies slapped backs and called anything fancy suspect, we'd buried that part of ourselves deep. Sure, we'd whispered about it in the dark of our shared bunk bed. Crushes on the swim team captain. The way certain boys' laughs twisted our guts. But college was supposed to be the great reveal. Instead, it was dorm hookups fumbled in secrecy, apps deleted in shame, and a brotherhood that tiptoed around the truth. I was out-ish testing waters with a few guys at queer mixers, but Alex? He was a vault, locked tight. "Yeah," I admitted, leaning on the rake. "All the time, but waitings for suckers. We make it happen." He nodded, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. That night, over beers at our place, he pulled up Ethan's LinkedIn on his laptop. NYC finance bro, Wharton grad, all sharp suits and skyline views. "Just curious," Alex muttered. But I saw the hunger there, a mirror of my own buried ache. Thanksgiving loomed like a family obligation none of us wanted. Eleanor invited us over, insisting, "No orphans on my watch." Her table groaned under turkey and fixings, candles flickering in silver holders that caught the firelight. We were midway through pumpkin pie when the doorbell chimed, and she lit up like a Christmas tree. "Ethan, my boy." He swept in like autumn wind, tall, broad-shouldered, with Eleanor's blue eyes but his father's rumored intensity, dark stubble framing a jaw that could cut glass. 31, city-weary, in a cashmere sweater that hugged his frame just right. Handshakes turned to hugs, He clapped our backs with a grin that said, "Fellow survivors. Mom's told me all about her garden elves. Thanks for keeping her out of trouble." Dinner stretched late, stories flowing like the Merlot. Ethan was magnetic. Witty barbs about Wall Street vampires. A laugh that rumbled low and true. Alex barely spoke, his fork tracing patterns in his plate. But his eyes tracked Ethan like a compass needle. I played buffer, cracking jokes about our latest campus mishap. A flooded basement in the psych building that turned lectures into submarine rides. By evening's end, as Ethan helped clear plates, their hands brushed over a stack of bowls, and the air hummed. Eleanor caught it too, her smile soft as she shooed us all to the parlor for cordials. That's when it started, that invisible thread pulling taut. Ethan lingered after we left, crashing in his old room for the holiday weekend. The next morning, Alex volunteered us for leftover duty, hauling boxes of donations to the campus food pantry. But really, it was reconnaissance. We found Ethan in the garden, sleeves rolled up, wrestling with a stubborn bird feeder. "Thought you city slickers stuck to spreadsheets," I teased, tossing him a hammer. He chuckled, wiping sweat from his brow. "Even wolves need to hunt sometimes. Besides, Mom guilt tripped me into fixing this eyesore." Alex hovered, handing tools like a surgical assistant, his usual banter replaced by something quieter, charged. Ethan noticed, drawing him out with questions about Yale life, our Ohio roots, the twin bond that felt both blessing and curse. "Must be wild," Ethan said, nailing a perch into place. "Sharing a face with your best friend. Ever mix up your heartaches?" Alex flushed, glancing at me. "All the time. But Jamie here's the fixer. I just feel it all." By sunset, the three of us were sprawled on the porch, beers in hand, the city lights twinkling distant promises. Ethan shared fragments of his own story, a divorce from a society girl who preferred Hampton's galas to his quiet doubts, the closet he'd cracked open in Manhattan's anonymous bars. "Coming out at 30 feels like starting grad school late," he admitted, voice low. "Everyone's miles ahead." Alex leaned forward, elbows on knees. "Nah, it's just a different major. The good ones are still enrolling." Their eyes locked, and I felt it. The spark, the pull, like gravity shifting underfoot. I excused myself for more ice, leaving them to the twilight. Inside, Eleanor's kitchen hummed with holiday ghosts, but my chest tightened with something sharper than envy. Pride, maybe, for Alex's courage, or the first whisper of loss knowing our twin orbit was expanding. The weekend blurred into stolen moments. Ethan joining our work shifts, turning raking into debates on everything from canes to queer icons. Alex bloomed under it, his laughter freer, his touches lingering. A hand on Ethan's arm during a story, a shared glance over Eleanor's shoulder. I played wingman, but cracks showed. One night, post-dinner charades where Ethan mimed Stonewall with theatrical flair, Alex pulled me aside in the hall. Jamie, he's real. Like, the kind of real that scares me." "Then lean in," I whispered, clapping his shoulder. "We've got this." But this was fracturing. Ethan extended his stay through December, citing work from home as excuse, but we all knew better. Holiday lights strung the garden. Eleanor's baking filled the air with gingerbread dreams. One snowy evening, as flurries danced past the windows, I walked in on them. Alex and Ethan, silhouetted by the fire, foreheads touching in a moment so tender it stole my breath. They sprang apart, guilt flashing, but I waved it off with a grin. "Scout's honor. Your secret's safe." From then on, it was a delicate dance. Alex and Ethan stole ours, walks along the Long Island Sound, late-night talks in the attic that doubled as Ethan's makeshift office. I'd cover, inventing errands for Eleanor, who watched with knowing eyes but said nothing. "Love's like pie crust," she told me one afternoon, rolling dough with veined hands. "Handle it gentle, or it crumbles." Christmas Eve, the quad blanketed in white, Ethan proposed a twin toast in the parlor. To new chapters, to family found. His hand found Alex's under the tree, and for a heartbeat, it felt perfect. Our little constellation aligned. But perfection's a lie. It's the shadow that gives it shape. The betrayal came swift as a nor'easter, 2 weeks into the new year. I'd been nursing a cold, dosed on Eleanor's herbal tonics, when I stumbled down to the kitchen at dawn for water. Voices drifted from the study, low, urgent. Ethan's, Alex's, and then, a name that iced my veins. Jamie doesn't get it. Ethan. He thinks it's all fun and games. But you see me. I froze in the doorway's shadow, heart pounding like a bass drum. Ethan's reply was softer, placating. He's your brother, Alex. Blood. We can't. We can. I've waited my whole life for this. For you. Don't make me choose. Silence thick as fog. Then footsteps. I bolted upstairs, chest heaving, the words carving canyons in my gut. Choose? Me, the fixer, the shield, reduced to a footnote? That afternoon, as we pruned the winterbear roses, Alex avoided my eyes, his shears snipping too sharp. Ethan had left for the city that morning, a meeting excuse that fooled no one. By nightfall, the storm broke, not outside, but in. Dinner was tense, Eleanor's chatter filling voids like spackle. After, as she retired early with a migraine, Alex cornered me in the garden shed. We need to talk. The air smelled of damp earth and betrayal. About how I'm the third wheel in my own life? I shot back, voice cracking. His face crumpled. It's not Jamie, Ethan, and I. It's real, deeper than anything. But you're still my twin. Always. Always. I laughed, bitter. You told him I don't get it. That I'm the joke. He recoiled. I was scared. Opening up like this, it rips me apart. You fix things. I feel them. And this feeling. It's everything. We argued under the stars. Words like shrapnel. My accusations of secrecy, his pleas for understanding. Yale was our dream. I yelled, tears hot on my cheeks. Together. Now it's you and him, and I'm the leftover. You're not. But his voice wavered, and in that waver, I saw the fracture line. Our bond, once unbreakable, spiderwebbing under love's weight. The next days were purgatory. Work continued, mechanical, joyless. Eleanor sensed the rift, her invitations laced with concern, but we stone-walled her. Ethan returned Friday, suit rumpled from the train, and the house crackled with unspoken electricity. That night, a campus gala, Eleanor's annual fundraiser for the LGBTQ Center, drew us all in. Dressed in borrowed finery, Eleanor's late husband's tux for us twins, Ethan in bespoke wool. We entered Woolsey Hall like actors on a stage too vast. The event was a whirlwind. String quartets weaving through champagne flutes, alumni toasting progress under chandeliers that dripped light like honey. Alex and Ethan moved as a unit, hands brushing in the crowd, their laughter a private code. I nursed a gin at the bar, chatting with donors to mask the ache, when Eleanor pulled me aside. Darlin', twins are mirrors, not cages. Let him reflect back what you need to. Her words lingered as the auction kicked off. Art, experiences, a weekend in the Berkshires. Then, the bid that gutted me. Ethan, on impulse, pledging $5,000 for a private dinner with the twins. Storytelling session guaranteed. The crowd hooped. Alex beamed. But when Ethan caught my eye across the room, his smile faltered, a plea in the dim light. Later, on the hall's marble steps, snow swirling under street lamps, it all unraveled. Alex and I had slipped out for air, the gala's roar muffled behind us. Jamie, please, he started, breath fogging the cold. Ethan's asking me to move to New York after graduation. With him, the world tilted. And us? The twin pact. You're Yale-bound with your engineering dreams. This is my shot. At love at whole. I grabbed his lapels, the tux fabric slick under my fists. Your shot? We asked for work to save us both. This widow, this house. It's our lifeline, and now you're torching it for some city fairy tale. He shoved me off, eyes wild. It's not torching. It's growing up. You cling to us like it's oxygen. But I need air of my own. Ethan emerged then, coat over arm, face etched with regret. Jamie, hear him out. This isn't. Stay out of it. I roared, the quad echoing my fury. Revelers paused, whispers rippling. You swoop in, play house, and now you're stealing my brother? Blood trumps your weekend flings. It's not a fling, Ethan said quietly, stepping between us. And you're wrong about blood. It's not chains, it's roots. Alex loves you, but he loves me too. The slap came from nowhere. My palm cracking against Ethan's cheek, the sound sharper than shattering glass. Gasps from the crowd. Alex's cry of "Jamie!" like a blade. I staggered back, hand throbbing, horror flooding in. God, I'm sorry, but the damage was done. Security ushered us out. Eleanor arrived in a cab, face ashen, bundling us into her van without a word. The drive home was silent, the wipers slapping rhythm like accusations. Back at the house, the fire we'd banked earlier sputtered low. Eleanor herded us to the parlor, pouring brandies with steady hands. "Boys," she said, settling into her armchair like a judge. "This family's too precious for fractures. Speak your truths, or lose them all." Alex went first, voice breaking. The fear of losing Ethan, the guilt of betraying me, the terror that love meant leaving our twin tether. Ethan followed, raw, his own closets, the divorce that taught him vulnerability's cost, how Alex had cracked him open like dawn. Me last, the words tumbling. Resentment at being sidelined, pride in Alex's courage twisted into fear of aloneness, the slap born of a lifetime's shared scars. Dawn crept in, gray light filtering through lace curtains. Eleanor rose, placing a hand on each of our knees. "Betrayal's just misplaced trust. Redirect it. You're all haze now by choice. Act like it." The climax hit that spring, as cherry blossoms choked the campus elms. Graduation loomed, decisions crystallized. Ethan proposed formally, not rings, but a shared lease in Brooklyn, a life woven from weekends at Eleanor's and my visits. Alex accepted, tear-streaked, pulling me into a hug that mended more than it broke. "You're invited anytime, bro. Always." I nodded, throat tight, but the old wound festered. In a fit of spite, I anonymously tipped Vito the slumlord about our instability. Whispers of moving out, job losses. Petty, born of hurt, but it backfired spectacularly. Vito evicted us overnight, citing lease violations I'd fabricated in my rage. Alex found out through a mutual friend, confronting me in the quad as rain lashed the statues. "You did this." His voice was ice over fire. "To punish me? Us?" I was angry. I shouted over the downpour. "You chose him." "No, Jamie. I chose me. And you just burned the bridge we both needed." He walked away, leaving me in the deluge. The same steps where, 2 years prior, I'd held him as eviction loomed anew. Irony cruel as campus bells. Rock bottom came in Eleanor's kitchen, days later. I'd shown up soaked, echoing that first storm, begging forgiveness. She let me in, no questions, just tea and a listening ear. "Widow's no loss," she said softly. "But we rebuild. Call your brother." The reconciliation was raw, under her rose arbor as petals fell like confetti. Alex arrived with Ethan, arms linked, but eyes searching mine. "We're twins, Jamie, not halves of one. Wholes, separate." I broke then, sobs racking as I pulled them both close. Eleanor too, her frail frame anchoring us. "I betrayed you worst," I whispered. "Forgive me." "Already did," Alex murmured, his hand finding mine, the old rhythm sinking. "But New York's got room for 3. Engineering firms aplenty." Ethan grinned, clapping my back. "And a spare room. Family's what we make it." Summer unfurled gentle, our futures intertwining like garden vines. I landed an internship in the city, crashing at their walk-up with views of the East River. Alex and Ethan built slow. Dinners in, pride parades hand in hand, Eleanor's pies shipped weekly. She beamed at our first joint visit back, her porch swing creaking under 4. Yale's gates receded in the rear view that fall, but the choice, the knock on her door, echoed eternal. It didn't just save our roofs. It rebuilt our souls. Betrayal's sting faded to scar, a reminder that love, in all its forms, demands space to breathe. And in America's vast heart, from rust to skyline, we found ours, twin flames, kindled by a widow's grace.